Hi everybody, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jo, and as we get started now, I'd just like to check in with you all to ensure that you can all hear me loud and clear. At the top right of your screen, you should have a little box and you can raise your hand. If you could just raise your hand now so that we know that we're coming through crystal clear for you, then that would be really great, and then we can get this show on the road. Carly, are you getting any hands raised there?
No hands yet.
Okay.
Can someone just tap on the hand button just to let us know? Great. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Great. Excellent. And a couple of messages coming through now. Good. Very good. Okay, that's just great to know that you can hear us. So as we go through today, we would love this session to be really interactive for you all. So we will be asking you questions to get your ideas and feedback. So you can pop that information into the chat box just down the bottom, just underneath where the hand is. So just feel free to pop that in there. Sometimes we don't get to all of your questions and feedback, but we really appreciate you putting it in, because it's something that we can have a bit of a chat to about later, and it really does add to our webinars. So that would be great if you could pop anything in there that you need. Does anyone have any questions before we get started on our Week 6 Quality of Life webinar? And if not, we will get started immediately. So welcome everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time for you today. Carly and I are just loving these webinars so much, and even more than that, the webinars, we're actually loving as well the amazing conversations that we're having with those people that are joining us on the choice sessions that we offer you each week. We're also really getting a lot of benefit from the feedback that we're getting from you via email and on Facebook. It is so beneficial to us, because we know then how we can make things even better for you, and how that we can really hone in on the things we really want to learn. Because basically, guys, this is all about you, and it's about Carly and I adding as much value to you as we possibly can. So how are you all feeling today? We are very excited. As you hear what we've got to say today about the quality of life, you will so easily see the changes that you can make and become more resourceful and successful immediately. So I trust you're going to get loads out of this webinar and just love the value that you get from the insights you gain today. So my name is Jo Wise, and I'm here to chat with you today about experiencing more quality of life, and who wouldn't want that? Now today we're discussing the keys that will really resonate with you, particularly if you are at a stage where you're really ready to take things up a level. But you know how sometimes you're ready to take that step, but you know that there's something that's holding you back? Well, that's really what today's all about. Now, we've all been there. Carly and I have certainly been there. And you know, we will also be there again at some stage. But the difference is, after you know what we're actually handing you today, is you'll know how to actually just step over the crap and to get the job done, you know, to whatever it is, you know, no matter how much it scares you, you'll actually see through. It's like Carly was saying last week when I was away holidaying in Queensland. She was saying that you know the code. It's like that. Once you know the code, it doesn't have as much of an effect on you anymore. So let's move on. And Carly and I started this idea of conducting webinars for you guys. It was really important for us to do this, because we got together and we really wanted to start helping people and adding value to as many people as we possibly can. Now, we're two women on a mission, and we're going to help you crash through your conscious and unconscious barriers to excellence. And today, that's what it's all about. It's all about excellence. We're doing what we can to help you get where you deserve to be, but even faster. You know, we want to add as much value as we can to your business and your career, so that you can actually just focus on what's really important. And today, that's all about the quality of life. So week by week, Carly and I are sharing these learnings with you to give you the tools that actually took us a very long time to work out. But not only that, is we're making it as easy as possible for you. So as you know, for those people that have joined us before, and we do have some new people on the call today as well, is that every single week we have these webinars up until the 11th of July, so come back again. And today we're up to week sensational 6. So we've got a lot more information, really, really great information to come over the next few weeks for you. So I wanted to as well thank Carly very much for last week, because I was away holidaying up in North Queensland, and I was lucky enough to be able to catch up with Carly. But while I was away, she took hold of the webinar and gave that last week without me on board. So thank you for that. And how are you this week, Carly?
Yeah, really good, Jo. It's nice. It's a beautiful day up here today. It's a little bit cool, but probably not as cold as this is down south. But I'm doing fantastic. It was so nice to see you, even though it probably wasn't as relaxing as you would have liked it to have been up here. So for some of you on board, typical family holiday for Jo. I hope you don't mind me sharing, Jo, but Marley, their little boy, got a bit sick. So, you know, as much as it's nice to have a holiday, sometimes with kids it just doesn't turn out that way. But we still had some fun in the sand.
In my voice today.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
So that was probably one of your levels of experience that you're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. It's a challenging one. Excellent, Kylie. Thanks for that. That's great. Okay. So, guys, a number of years ago, let's just get straight into it. A number of years ago, I decided I would climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa. I've always wanted to go to Africa. It's something that was one of my childhood dreams. And so it seemed natural for me that when I went to Africa that I'd just climb Mount Kilimanjaro whilst I was there. So, and I did it, you know, I did. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I made it right to the top. And, well, I must say it was amazing. It was one of the most incredible things that I've done in my life. It was challenging. You know, there were times when I absolutely 100% wanted to give up. But, you know, I stuck at it and I made it. I made it right to the summit. And, you know, this trek, it taught me so many things. It taught me really things that are important in life and that I've been able to use since that time. The things that I've been able to use in my career, and later on, you know, now as I'm running my businesses, I really call on this experience quite a bit as well. That there are these things that I've taken with me that I learnt from that, and that I really rely on quite often when things get tough. Now, I learnt heaps and heaps of things, of course, but one of the biggest things that I learnt and really, really stuck with me is one of the things that our guides tell us every single day when we're on the mountain, and that's one step at a time and you will make it. And that's really what we did. We walked for 6 days and some nights as well, sometimes all the way through the night. It was so challenging and exhausting. Even sometimes it was really painful. But, you know, each day we continued to just take one step at a time, and basically, that was it. That's what we did. So that's what got me through, knowing that all I had to do was take one more step and I will make it. Now, a very wise mentor of mine, Joe Parnay, says the secret to success is hard work. And if you don't do the hard work, it remains a secret. So the secret to success is hard work. And if you don't do the hard work, it remains a secret. And I love that, because that's exactly what Mount Kilimanjaro was about for me. Now, in this case, it's the same with anything that's really important, isn't it? It takes work, and sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes when you're in it, all you can do is see how hard it is. But then what happens after? You look back on it, and you always say afterwards, that wasn't so bad. You know, yeah, it may have been bloody hard, but look, you know, we realise how far we've come and so on. So it seems much easier after the fact. Now, when we look back, we realise that basically all it is a bunch of steps that we took. And it's just taking action on a consistent basis that actually gets us the results. So it's one step at a time and you will make it. And each step might hurt like hell, but if it's done consistently, you'll get the results that you deserve. What I love about this so much is when I did my trek up Kili, it actually gave me reference points. So what that means is when I have something really challenging to do, you know, from that time on, I could call on that experience. And I did, and I still do. You know, running my first workshop in front of 30 people, speaking to the director of a huge business about, you know, the training programs that I can offer that will, you know, be the only option for them, cold calling businesses, all of these things that are really quite challenging the first time you do them. And I can call on my reference point as something really challenging that I did. So at the start, when I was doing these things, I would think, you know, if I climb Mount Kilimanjaro, then I can do this. You know, I can make this call. I can speak to this business owner. And that was really helpful to have that. But now I've done these challenging things so many times in my business that I have more reference points that are even more relevant than climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And I like to call this my success cycle, or my cycle of success. So rather than a cycle of fear or disappointment or frustration that I actually spent a lot of time in my first, 12 months in business, but I tell you, I know which cycle I much prefer to be on, the cycle of success over the cycle of fear and disappointment and frustration any day. You know, I'm really loving the quality of my life now, and it's just, these are the keys to how I got there and how I'm still getting there every single day. You know, I'm just loving it, not because it never gets challenging or scary anymore, because it absolutely does all the time. But I know where the real quality of life comes from now, and it comes from the levels of experience. So let's have a look at these levels of experience. There's actually 4 levels of experience, and we're going to have a nice detailed look at all of them today. So there's 4 levels of experience, and each of them are broken into 4 parts. And we'll describe each of these and the relationship to each other in detail so that you get a real handle on this and realize that the solutions to getting the results that you need were right under your nose the whole time. So as you can see, there's level 1, doing what feels good is good for me, others, than the greater good. Level 2 is doing what does not feel good, but is still good for me and others. Level 3 feels good, but isn't good for me and others. And level 4 is just not feeling good, and it's feeling pretty crap as well. So as I said, let's have a look at these individually so that we can get a real handle on them for you. So level 1 is the quality of life. Do what feels good, and it is good for me, it is good for others, and it is good for greater good. So if you think about some examples of this, and I want you to start thinking of examples of this in your own life, because when you take this to the next level, when when it resonates with you, but you actually sort of really delve into it in your own experiences, it means that you're learning on a whole different level. So something that might feel good and is good for me, well, obviously good for me, good for others might be, my family or my team if I'm a leader. If I run a business, it might be my employees. And the greater good could be, the community or the business I'm working in. So it really depends on the scenario or the context that you're talking about there. So who could think of an example of level 1? Pop something into the chat box for us. Something that's good for you, but also feels good for you, for others, and the greater good. Now for me, it's running. It's also dancing with my son to loud music in the morning, which is a great way to pep me up. Kylie, what's the level 1 experience for you?
Yeah, Isabella and I dance in the morning. That's a pretty level 1 experience for us too. We go a bit crazy with that. Just, doing new things, new experiences. That's what's really exciting, something that I haven't done. So a lot of level 1 experiences for me was like running workshops or running these webinars.
Excellent.
So that's definitely
actually that's a great one, isn't it? Running these webinars for us is an absolute level 1. I hadn't thought of that. That's an excellent one. Thanks, Kylie.
You're welcome.
Because you think of that, like it feels good for us. We love it because it feels good because we know we're helping people. We're getting great feedback from others. It's good for us because we'd only, I know you'd run a few more webinars than I had. I'd only really been a guest speaker on some webinars for other people before. It's good for others because people get the message, and good for greater good. Now, we got our first inquiry internationally over the last couple of weeks. So, our show's gone international. So that's greater good. That's community. That's international impact that we're having. So that's definitely level 1. So that's awesome, Carly. Thanks. Did you have any others?
Well, whenever I present, so some of you may not know, but I was always nervous at speaking in front of people. So, but doing that was a level 1 experience, so giving to other people. So now it is a level 1 experience, probably not at the start, but
Yeah, yeah.
it is now.
We'll talk about that. That's a
Yeah.
good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Does anyone else have anything they've put it in the chat box there, Kylie?
So we've got someone here talking about when they're playing with their kids and giving to them and reading stories. So that's a really good one as well. So when you're giving to family members and doing things like that, or playing a sport, or that's a really good one.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. And a lot of people are saying about health and fitness. That's a really common one for level 1 because it does feel good most of the time. Or some of the time, and obviously it's good for you and for those around you. So health and fitness, helping people in your business and so on. So there's heaps of examples there, so that's great. Thank you for sharing, Kylie, and thanks for everyone else that shared as well. So as I said, level 1 is the quality of life, and it's determined, or should I say your quality of life is determined by how many level 1 experiences you can collect. But here's the deal, as Kylie sort of alluded to just a second ago, a level 1 experience just doesn't happen forever. You don't get to just keep hanging out in level 1 forever, and you continue, but it's just not going to continue to feel like a level 1 experience for the rest of your life. So doing what feels good is good for you and those around you. It's very fluid. It will actually, to get to a level 1 experience, you need to first go through level 2, and this is what Kylie was talking about before. Now, I remember when I was climbing my next mountain after Mount Kilimanjaro, and this was Mount Kenya. It was a really different experience because I sort of knew what I was in for this time, whereas Mount Kilimanjaro was absolutely the first mountain that I'd ever climbed, and I had no idea before. But with Mount Kenya, I roughly knew how long it would take. I knew that we'd have to get up at midnight to trek to the summit in the ice. There'd be freezing wind, there'd be pitch black. I knew that there would be pain. I knew my body would ache to the bone. I knew my feet would be frozen. And I knew that the snot would freeze to my face, as lovely as that is. I absolutely knew that was going to happen. I was totally aware of the pain that was to come. But you see, pain is an indication of growth. Now, many people, we want to get away from the pain because we think pain is bad. But pain is the time when we really need to get excited, the time when now I start to say to myself, on some level I'm growing. And on Mount Kenya, amongst other things, I was making other reference points as well that I could refer to when times get tough. I was challenging myself beyond the things that I normally do. And when I do that, and I know Kylie's exactly the same, when she challenges herself beyond what we normally do, that's when we really get the rewards. And you know what? It happens every single time. So let's have a look at level 2, because for me this is really where the gold is. So are you ready to feel the music? Because this is a good one. Level 2. Level 2. So as we said, the quality of life is determined by how many level 1 experiences you can collect. And that seems right to reason, doesn't it? And to get to a level 1 experience, you need to go through a level 2. So what is level 2? A level 2 does what does not feel good, but is good for you and is good for others and is good for greater good. Now, what are some examples that you can think of here that are definitely level 2? I know for me, it used to be, and still is for some of them, cold calling, going to networking events, and at the moment, level 2 is absolutely the gym for me at the moment. So what have you got for us? So type in some in the chat box. And Kylie, what about you? What are some level 2 experiences? I know you've got plenty of them because we talk about this quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mentioned before, level 2 experience for me was definitely presenting to groups of people. I'd often feel like I was going to pass out, but that was a challenge for me. So for me, continuing to do it meant that I've now gotten to the level that I'm at, so I'm quite confident in being able to do that. So, so what didn't feel good for me but was good for everyone else is now good for me because I've moved through that. Starting a business, studying, having a child, they're all level 2 experiences. which I'm sure we've got a few women on this webinar, they can understand that. Or even for men, like becoming a father. They're all level 2 experiences. It's good for everyone, but may not necessarily be good for you at that particular time. Starting a new sport, like when you're not
like
aware of...
this morning.
Yeah. When you start a new sport, like you actually don't really know about it, it gets you a little bit nervous. You may get the rules wrong and things like that, and that's okay because you're learning. So this is like you, Joe, when you're at the start of that mountain, you have no idea what's in front of you. You just know you need to take each step. And you might be scared shitless, for want of a better word. I'm sorry if I've offended people, but, you know, it's just pushing through those barriers to know that you're going to get to that next level. Does that help?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's great. So I know speaking to a lot of my clients, actually asking for the sale, you know, is a huge level 2 experience. You know, we do a lot of these things, and many people, I know a lot of my clients over the last 12 months have really been uncomfortable about, you know, the salesman thing. But ultimately, if we don't make the sale, you know, even though it doesn't feel good, we know it's good for us because it's building a business. It's good for others because your clients are actually getting what they want, and it's good for greater good because it's, you know, your business is out there offering value to other people. So, you know, this public speaking, as Kylie said, is a huge one for a lot of people. It's something that I've been lucky enough to be doing for years, so I'm very comfortable with it. But there was times when I do it. Last week I did a presentation at Goldman Sachs for 160 people internationally, you know, so there's people in front of me in the room, but there were also people in Beijing and Hong Kong and all over the world. So that was, you know, even though it was a little bit uncomfortable to start with, I knew it was good for me and other people. So now I've done it, you can move on to the next one, you know, the even bigger one. But you're getting a pattern here, aren't you? You know, often when we're introducing ourselves to something new, like a new sales strategy or a healthier diet or a new job as a leader or into a new team, it isn't going to feel good at the start, is it? You know, it's going to be uncomfortable. And when you keep at it, something changes. And I love this. No level 2 experience remains a level 2 experience. So eventually, level 2 experiences will move. And when you're doing a level 2 experience, and like Kylie was saying with her public speaking, she never used to like it at the beginning, but she knew it was good for her and her business and her clients. But now she loves it, and she's fantastic at doing it as well. So it's totally level 1 for her. And it's the same, you know, with all the examples I gave as well. So think about it. When I first came, I first did my first networking event years and years ago. I remember I was so nervous. You know, I didn't know anybody that was going. I had no idea what to say. You know, I started as a life coach years and years ago, and I didn't even really know what that meant. I didn't know who to talk to, and I actually thought about it. I remember walking in, and the first thing I was doing was looking for the toilet because that's where I was going to spend the whole night. But, you know, I got there and I realised that, you know, even though it didn't feel good at all. However, I actually knew that ultimately it was going to be good for me and others. So I did it, you know, and it became, you know, good for me and those around me. And it was also good, you know, it gets bigger, the clients, the people I was speaking to and the clients that I created through those events, and even the community, because now I was able to share my skills with more people through my training and my coaching. And I wasn't able to do that from sitting at home on the couch watching telly. So I know you're really getting this. So I want to give you a crystal clear way of grasping a level 2 experience. So are you guys ready? Because I actually rate my level 2 experiences by what I call the squirm factor. When I think about doing a level 2, and I know it's going to have a really great impact by how much I'm actually squirming in my seat. Now this is a great picture here of Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is the face that I'm looking for. This is the feeling I'm looking for when I'm deciding something is a real true level 2 for me. You know, does it make me feel like this? The great thing about it is the more times you do a level 2, the easier it becomes. You know, you build those reference points I've been talking about. So when I did my level, you know, my second mountain in Mount Kenya, although I knew it was going to hurt, I knew it was going to be good for me. And I know when I cold call, I still don't like it. It's still completely level 2 experience for me, but I know it's good for my business. I know it's good for me, and I've got clients this way in the past. So, and the really cool thing, as I said, with networking is It was a level 2 experience for me, but now after I've been doing it for years, it's totally level 1. I love the opportunity now that every time I go to a networking event, I have an opportunity to speak to someone that I've never met before. You're some of my really, really great friends that I've met, and definitely business clients and training clients that I've met through networking events. They're excellent business associates, people that I can recommend my clients to. So I've got opportunities for my clients now that I didn't have before networking. So it was definitely a level 2 experience, but now it's become a level 1 experience because I've been doing it. And I'm getting better at it, the whole time. So guys, I want you to think about this. What are 3 things that you can do this week? So grab your pen, and I want you to think about 3 things this week that you can do that will be absolute true level 2 experiences for your business or career or your life. Now, often when we're thinking about these things, these are things that are really going to put you out there. But you also know that if you don't do these things, you're not going to reap the rewards. So just write down 3 little dot points, pop them down right now, so that straight after this call, you can write them in or pop them in your diary of when you're actually going to follow through and take the action on these 3 level 2 things. Make it happen. And remember the squirm factor. If you're sitting there going, I kind of don't like this, but I know it'll be really good for me, then maybe that's not as effective as it could be. I find the more the squirm factor, the more my heart is just jumping out of my chest, the better it is, because you know that it's going to have more of an impact. It's sort of like the concept, I don't know if you've heard this concept, I was talking about the other day at a training session, eat a frog. So imagine that the task you have, your level 2 task that you want to complete on your list is actually a live frog. So why don't you do that task first over the next few days? Your frog, the task that will have the greatest impact on achieving your goals. Your level 2, the task that you most likely are going to procrastinate on, or you're going to be giving yourself these fantastic reasons of why you can't possibly do this level 2 thing. Reasons are just grown-up versions of excuses. But whatever the reason is you're giving, that's just crap, yeah? So move past it. So let's take the eating a frog a little bit further. If you have to eat a live frog, it's not going to help you to sit there and look at it for very long, is it? So get into the habit of doing these things first. Develop a routine of where you eat your frog before you do anything else without taking too much time to think about it. So remember, no level 2 experience remains there. It becomes a level 1. So how are you going? Are you all ears? This picture becoming crystal clear for you, isn't it? You're really getting a handle on this, aren't you? It's really beneficial stuff, guys. So I love that you're really getting this now.
Can I just share one more?
Do you have anything to add? Yeah.
One of the things that someone mentioned to me yesterday who couldn't come onto this webinar today but wanted to share some insights was he was working with a client around, it was a general manager of a business, and a level 2 experience for him was managing someone who wasn't performing. So having that nervousness around how to make sure that he could get the person to do his job properly, but having that conversation. So he wasn't used to having a conversation with someone to get them back on track. So that was a level 2 experience. So if you're a business owner or a manager or a leader, they're all level 2 experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the things I come across in executive training, and I think I use one of those as an example, but it absolutely is, because it's so, the thing that I love is, I've heard somebody use the term elegant excuses, or, elegant reasons, is we put so much energy and effort into coming up with the reasons of why we can't do these things, really, we don't simply say, I'm petrified, I'm not going to do it, but we come up with these reasons, of these really intricate, well-woven reasons of why we can't possibly do it, because I need to do something else first, or, the person won't do this, but it's usually all external stuff, when I think we really always know the truth. I think we always know that we're really just petrified, but we just don't want to put a label on it. But I think, sometimes even if you just acknowledge that it is something that you're really, as Kylie said before, shit scared about doing, but that's okay because, as I said before, is when you're coming across something that is really, really scary for you in this context, that's when you really start to grow, isn't it?
And you should get really excited.
Yeah.
Whenever
I don't know about you, Kylie, but yeah, it took me, and it still does. Sometimes I actually did this yesterday. I had to make a call yesterday to the director of this organisation that, I really wasn't keen about having this conversation. And I was elegantly, putting it off throughout the day. But the reasons that I put it off, I wasn't scared, absolutely not. I had all of these fantastic reasons of why I couldn't possibly call. And it was interesting because I was reading over this presentation as I was doing it, and I just started laughing at myself. And of course, I bloody rang straight away.
I think, the beauty of it is to know that whenever you're at a level 2 experience, level 1's not far behind. So get excited by the fact that you're about to do something new and get yourself to a higher level of experience. So you're then becoming more experienced and more of an expert at doing that one particular thing. So that's why I get really excited now, because if I just keep doing it and I get nervous, and I know that I'm going to come out the other side.
Yeah. And I remember talking to somebody recently about when I had, one of my jobs. I used to work as a travel agent a million years ago. And just, when you go into work every day and you've got that new job, and it's just really uncomfortable because, you don't know and you don't have your own clients yet, and there's all of the unknown stuff. You like your wage and you like the people there, and there's all the things that you do like, but there's a lot of it that makes you uncomfortable. And then one day you just come into work and, in my case, a client called for me and asked me my name and just seemed to all click into space then, and that was definitely moving a level 2 experience into a level 1, and it just, I remember at the time thinking, and it's happened so many times because I had a lot of jobs early on, is thinking, oh wow, it just happened today, as if it wasn't all of the work over the last couple of months that I'd worked hard to get to this stage. It just sort of happened. But of course it is. It's the one step that you take, or those steps that you take consistently all the time, that finally gets you to that level 1 experience. And like Kylie said, it is exciting. It's just you need to frame it that way. Cool. Did you have anything else to add there, mate, Kylie?
No, you covered it beautifully. I've just sent out a message to everyone to see what their level 2 experience is, so we can start moving you through, as Joe said, write them down and get through. But let's start sharing it all, and we can, if there's something coming up for you, we're happy to help you answer it or talk to you at the end of it. So feel free to send it through.
Awesome. Okay, will we move on to level 3?
Yep, let's go.
Cool. Okay. So level 3 is, well, have a look at it. It's do what feels good, but is not good for me, is not good for others, and is not good for greater good. What jumped into my mind right now is I just got a chocolate. It feels good at the time, but it's actually not good for me and good for others, or good for anything really, especially because it doesn't make you fit and healthy. But what are your level 3 experiences? What are the things that you know are going to feel good? And usually they only feel good in a really, really short time. But then you actually know, even quite often when we're doing it, we know it's not good for us or good for others or good for greater good. What about you, Kylie? Have you got any level 3s you want to share? Or anyone else?
Yeah, look, I have lots to share. Joe and I were talking about this last night, actually. So, some of the things some of you may know that I used to live down south in Sydney and Melbourne, and they were my partying days. So if you think of it like that, if you're doing what feels good, but it's not particularly good for you, not good for others, and not good for the greater good, so if you're drinking or whatever else and going out, the next day usually it's not good for you, not good for others, and not good for the greater good. So that's one example of that. So it felt really good at the time, but not necessarily good for everyone else or good for me in the later good. It could be also if you're in sport, you're doing what feels good, but it may not be good for you, good for others, or good for the greater good. So if you're pushing yourself too hard, and I think you had an example of that, didn't you, Jo?
I don't remember that.
Oh, was it the tennis one where you were pushing, if somebody wants to do something and they're playing tennis or a sport and they continue to go on, but it's not necessarily good for you, good for others, the greater good, if you're losing interest in it?
You seem to get to a threshold. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what happens is that what I kept saying with level 1 and 2, and obviously the same is true for level 3 and 4, is it's very fluid. Nothing stays at a level 1 forever, and nothing stays at level 2, and things don't stay at level 3 either. If you think about like what Kylie said about drinking, having huge nights on the piss, is it does feel good at the time, but then it's not good for you, for others, and greater good. Well, most of us don't sustain that and stay at a level 3 forever. I mean, I certainly, I was a tour guide in Europe for many years, and I certainly did a lot of that. But I got to a stage where it just wasn't the same anymore. I had to either move out of that, either going up to do something that's more challenging and a bit better for me, or you just get sick of it and move on. I think a lot of us do that with age as well. So this is wisdom speaking. But yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I find with this as well is that obviously one of the things I found, and I know I did in my first 12 months, and I still keep a really close eye on this, is, and I know I did for many years before that as well, is what feels good but isn't good for me, good for others, is just being busy. Now what I mean by that is the things that kept me busy, there were things, they kept me doing things, it made me feel good because I was doing something, I was able to tick something off my list, or if it wasn't on the list, I'd put it on and then tick it off. Now, they were the tasks that I was actually choosing to do were the tasks that made me feel good because they were familiar. They were the easy things that were on my list. Really, really easy things were on my list. However, were they actually good for me? Were they moving my business forward, or were they keeping me safe? Well, those little easy jobs that I was doing, they felt good for me because they weren't, it actually felt good when I was doing it because I was busy. But it wasn't good for me. It wasn't the level 2 experiences that were actually going to move my business forward. It wasn't going to be good for my clients either because I wasn't developing myself. I wasn't stretching myself so that I could be better and offer more value to them. So all of us, all of the busy work that we do, well, as I said, it's just sort of a bit of a waste of time. And quite often we're just focusing on what makes us comfortable, what's nice to do, but it just isn't going to get our business anywhere. So that's a really good level 3 experience, I think, and something that I know that a lot of my clients certainly do, because we sort of feel like we're doing something. And even if you're running a business on your own, that can be sitting on Facebook, for hours and hours and hours. And although, yes, of course, Facebook is a very productive marketing tool, there needs to be a resourceful way of doing it that is obviously a very unresourceful way of doing it as well. So. Also, I'm working with a client at the moment. He's this really cool guy. He's really keen. He's determined. I'm working with him as his executive coach. I'm his executive coach, and I know he's on this call. So yes, he knows I'm going to mention him. And just so you know, whenever Kylie and I mention our clients on our calls, we always check to make sure that it's okay with them first, so we don't just blab. But anyway, this guy I was telling you about, he's really doing great as a new leader. He's moving mountains into so many areas, and there's this one area that he keeps avoiding, having difficult conversations with his team when they're not performing. Now, instead of actually just jumping in and doing it, he convinces himself that he's got all these really, really important tasks to do, and he needs to keep doing those so that he can put off this, the challenging conversations he's got to have with his team. Now, in this case, he's actually choosing to do something really important, what he's labelled himself as really important at the time, but that thing also just happens to make him feel really good. But you've got it, haven't you? It isn't actually good for him. It's not good for him, and it's not good for those around him. He's going to need to have those candid and difficult conversations with his team. And if he doesn't, he's not going to be able to develop himself in that area of leadership, and he's never going to be able to move up in his organisation. So currently he's choosing to do something that feels good to him, but it's actually not good for him because he's going to become stagnant in his role. Now, it's certainly not good for others, for his team, although, you know, some people don't take feedback that well. He's actually not developing his team in the areas that they need. They need his guidance in. So he's not actually giving them the chance to develop and improve and to increase their value that they can offer to the organisation. They're not going to get to that next level because they actually don't know that they're doing anything wrong at this stage. So it's not good for greater good either, in this case, which is the business, obviously, because, you know, the team aren't delivering the way they should. Now, as I said, the key to all of these levels is to remember that they don't remain on that level for long. You either move up or down. Now, in this case, he could choose to move up, so he may choose to have that challenging conversation, and I absolutely know that he's going to do that. And he's going to decide to do what doesn't feel good, but will get him the results, and that's the total level 2 experience, isn't it? Or he has a chance to move down to level 4, because he's not going to stay at level 3 forever. The situation will worsen, and, you know, although now it doesn't feel good either, so it used to feel good to do, you know, the busy work, but now, you know, it's not feeling good, and it's not good for anybody. And that's level 4, and it feels crap, and it feels crap for everyone around you as well. And that's when you start to think about quitting. So how is this adding value for you right now? Can you handle some more stuff on level 3? Because I really like, we can tell from the screen that you're all really focused. I can feel it. So now, just because some people choose to allow their emotions to rule their life. Now, I know that a lot of us, we think that our emotions rule our life. This is something that Carly and I learned a long time ago, is not to allow your emotions to rule your life. Many people think that life is actually about feeling good. And of course, in context it is, of course. However, we need to understand that the feeling is not to dictate our actions. So instead of allowing your feelings to drive your actions, let your goals and your results drive your actions. If we only ever do what feels good, it's not sustainable for results. Well, think about it. We could never challenge ourselves or do anything that will stretch us, or, you know, give us anything that's really great for us in the long run. What sort of a life is that? To me, that sounds like going to the Gold Coast for every holiday for the rest of my life. This is going to be pretty boring for me. Now, as many people choose to allow their feelings to rule their actions, many people continue to swing from level 1, which feels good, is good for me and good for others, and level 3, feels good, but is not actually good for anybody, because they're hooked on the focus of feeling good. And I tell you, that's what some of you are doing right now. I did this for ages as well, you know, and sometimes I still do it. I just pick it up much faster these days, which is much more efficient. So I actually know what's happening, and that's where the awareness around this is going to be really beneficial for you guys too. Now, if you think about it, anything we buy into, you know, it could be financially, emotionally, mentally, physical, or spiritually. If you think about it, in a way, it's because we perceive that by doing this thing, it will make us feel better. And you know it might as well, of course. But feeling good is a key driver for all human behaviour. So the pull is pretty strong for us. So if we do things that make us feel good, and we jump from that feeling to feeling, we don't realise that it's only in the action that we get the emotion. It's not the other way around. The emotion doesn't happen first. It's actually the action that happens, and then the emotion follows. Now, a lot of us think that emotions just happen. You know, we wake up in the morning, we feel crap, and it just happens to be a crap day. Or we wake up in the morning, it feels good, and then it's a good day. But what we know from the last few weeks of our webinars is that it's always the external event or the action that comes first. As I said, the action. Now, I know we've covered this in one of our webinars before, but just really quickly to remind you, or for those that haven't been on the call, the way we get our emotions is an external event comes first, or an action, and then there's a whole bunch of processes that occur in our system, and then follows the emotion. So It's the event that happens first, and then we go through this internal process of deleting and distorting and generalizing the thing that had happened. And the way that we do that is because of the things that have happened in our past, the values, our religion, our childhoods, and so on. And it's only then, after that whole process occurs, that we even get our emotion. So the emotion doesn't happen first. Now this is so relevant here for us because we want to feel good, right? And we get all courageous and we step out of our comfort zone and we take that new promotion or we start a new business because we want to feel good. Or we may actually frame it in a different way. We may say we want more freedom or we want more flexibility or we want something else. But the purpose of all of those things is actually to make us feel good. Now, when this happens, we come across things that we know we need to do to be successful. The challenging, like level 2 stuff, like the networking, the cold calling, the presenting in public. You know, it doesn't feel good, but we know it's going to be good for us. And some people say, no, I'm not going to do that because I'm only in this because I wanted to feel good. And people get confused by this. I was confused by this alone, I reckon, for like a year. And people think, I don't feel good. I thought I was going to feel good. This is what I've always wanted to do. So you end up jumping between level 1 and level 3 things because if it doesn't feel good, I'm not going to do it. But to be successful in life, it's to actually live through life, not around it. You've got to pay your dues. You've got to do the do. Now there's this great quote, which is where you are today is a result of the dues you've paid or not. Now think about it. Think of the best things in life, you know. I bet you've paid your dues. You've worked for them. You know, and as Carly alluded to before, kids are the perfect example of that. You know, my son's been sick for the last week, and I tell you, it's all level 2, but I know by me, you know, nurturing and being caring and so on, is that eventually it's not going to be level 2 forever. But, I mean, think about your really strong relationships that you have. You know, it's not just level 1 the whole time. You absolutely will get loads of level 1, I certainly hope so, but it's not going to always be level 1. There's going to be a lot of level 2 in there. Think about, you know, your kids and your fitness. You know, all of these things are amazing things, but you've paid your dues, and you will keep doing that. You know, people that run marathons are all over this concept. You know, you get that, don't you? Now, remember we said that this is fluid, always moving. And before I mentioned to you that if you're doing level 3, you can't stay there. So you'll need to make a choice at some stage to make it either a level 2, so go from what feels good and isn't really good for us, which is level 3, and realizing that actually if I don't step up now, this is not going to happen. So you make a choice to either move up to a level 2 of what doesn't feel good but is good for everybody, or if you're not willing to take it up a notch, you may choose level 4, which isn't really good for anybody. So let's have a look at level 4. Level 4 is when you're about to quit. Look at it. It doesn't feel good anymore. It's not good for me, it's not good for others, and it's not good for greater good. So level 4 is when you're about to quit with whatever it is. It just doesn't feel good anymore, you know. You've been at level 3 for a while. Maybe you've gone from level 3 to level 4 for a while. You're not getting the results. It's gone on for a while and it's end of game. Quit. Now I've had jobs where this has happened. I've gone through all of the levels and ended up at level 4 and quit. Absolutely. Years ago, I had this great job at American Express, and I got in on level 2. Everything was new, and although it was really challenging, I knew it was good for me. I just, it didn't feel good at the start. I was like a fish out of water, but I knew it was going to be good for me. Then after a little while, there was all these level 1 experiences that I was having, which was awesome. I felt that it just feels so good to be confident in a role, isn't it? I'm having a great time. I was a really great team player. I was producing. I was getting great money. I was earning money for the business. It was really level 1. And then I'd take on new challenges, and I'd move back to level 2 and back and forth, which is great. And I moved into a leader role, or a number of leader roles in MX, and that was really great too. I was really stretching myself, really getting a handle on that, on new challenges and so on. Then the structure of the business changed completely, and so did my job. Now, I could have actually seen this as a level 2 experience, although of course I didn't know about any of this at the time. I just did. Now, I could have seen it as a challenge that I could overcome by stretching myself. But instead, I was so at effect, below the line. I know we've touched on this as we've gone, where I was blaming the changes in the structure for why I couldn't achieve my results anymore. Why my team wasn't producing. It was all about blaming the new structure. So I allowed it to become a level 2. And at the time, should I say, I allowed it to become a level 3. Now, at the time, I wasn't sitting there going, oh, I think I've just moved to level 3. This is all happening completely unconsciously to me. Now, I still liked being there. I liked the security that gave me, the excellent pay, the friends, the colleagues that I got to work with. But I wasn't challenging myself anymore. I wasn't giving the best for my team. And then after hanging out at level 3 for a while, as we do, no level 3 stays at level 3, I even got sick of the things that I used to like about the place, the things that used to make me feel good. I wasn't giving the best for my team. And after I wasn't doing anything. And the things that made it level 3 for me, I even lost those as well. I got sick of, the security wasn't important to me. The money, I had plenty of savings that meant I could quit. The people, I knew I'd find good friends wherever I worked. So I was really swinging between level 3 and 4 for a while, and eventually I just didn't want to continue doing that anymore, so I quit. Now really no one can handle hanging out at level 4 for very long, because for what purpose would you do that? Kylie, what level 4 experiences have you had recently or over the years?
So yeah, I was in a role at one point where I was highly stressed. I'd relocated from Sydney to Melbourne, and I was getting pressure for doing 3 different types of roles. So it didn't feel good for me, and it definitely wasn't good for others or the greater good, because when I was in pressure, I was snapping at other people, not performing as well as I could have been performing. My manager was getting very frustrated with me. So there was a lot of things going on. So that was my biggest level 4 experience in business.
Yeah.
And from that, I actually moved jobs. So, and that's a really good thing too for if you've got people that you work with or employees, if you're understanding these different types of levels, it also gives you awareness around, okay, something's not right. They're potentially going to leave.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's one of the great things about this, which we're going to talk about next, is the awareness around it. And how beneficial for you is this, to know this, if you're running your own business, to be aware of this, and to look out for not only for yourself, but for your employees. And if you're a leader, to look out for this with your team members as well. It's just a really powerful tool. So with level 4, we've looked at level 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 now. I just want to talk about it a little bit more, because we all know the quality of life is determined by how many level 1 experiences we collect. And the structure of growth is bouncing between level 1 and 2. We love to bounce. If you want a challenge and to really experience growth, bouncing between level 2 is it's what it's all about. But if you keep bouncing between these, you're going to reach a road called mastery. And doesn't that sound nice? Now, notice I said a road. Mastery is not a place. It's a road. It's always moving. So you usually enter in at a level 2, as we said. You stretch yourself. You challenge yourself. And then it becomes level 1. So the things that didn't make you feel good at the beginning but were good for you now they feel good. You love doing them. And then you stretch yourself again to become even better. And then you're in this bouncing from level 1 to level 2, which is a great cycle to be in. It's the structure of growth. But it's not about arriving, remember, it's a road. Now, the thing is, we don't all want to become masters at everything we do. I was a yoga teacher for many years, and I've moved from level 2 to 1 for years, exploring new areas of my yoga style, and I was a Vivekananda yoga teacher. And I really got to the top of my field after years. I just loved it. It was very level 1. But after a while, level 1 gets stale. The feeling starts to go away, the excitement, the challenges. And I started to ask myself, I've been doing this for a while now, what's the next thing I can do? So I had a decision to make. I was either going to maintain, and doesn't that sound a bit boring, or to continue up the road to mastery, improving, challenging, moving towards yoga mastery. Now, I actually was coming to a fork in the road when I was contacted by the powers of be in India who ran the Vivekananda Yoga that I was training in. And they asked me to move over to India for a year or two to further my skills. Now, I wasn't at all interested in doing this, not one bit. So instead of choosing to sort of maintain what I, instead, should I say, I decided to maintain what I had. So I didn't want to take it up a level. I just wanted to bob along where I was. So I didn't choose mastery up, up, up. I chose maintain. Now, what I was doing, which I didn't know at the time, was by choosing to actually just maintain what I had, you know, my years of yoga, I was just holding on to the previous experiences I had from the past. But here's what happens is I couldn't hold on to my glory days. You know, after a while, yoga teaching began to really sink to level 3 for me and then to level 4 until eventually I quit. Now, I could have chosen to be a master of yoga, but I actually chose to quit. And that was okay for me for then, in that context, because that was the right thing for me to do. I moved on to other things that were right for me, and now I'm, you know, moving towards the road of mastery in those areas. Now, the goal here is in your awareness. So have a strong awareness of where you are and where you want to be. And if you want to move towards mastery at something, to be really successful and to thrive, you spend time bouncing between 2 and 3. That's your path. But if you choose the alternative, well, then you know the options. And in our lives, we choose to be master in some areas and absolutely not in others. Be very deliberate with the things that are important to you. Now, just before we finish off today, I'd really like you to just have a look at your own experiences and where you are. I want you to draw a little box with 4 sections, so just sort of like what I've got on the screen in front of you, and just put level 1 where level 1 is, level 2, level 3 and level 4. Don't worry about putting, you know, what feels good and all of the words, but just put in the top left-hand box level 1, bottom left-hand box level 2, and then 3 and 4. And now I want you to think, as you're doing that, just take a moment and think about, you know, is it your business or your career or an important area of your life, and just select one. The area of your life you really want to improve now, that you're really ready to take the next step in. Now I want you to think about where you are in that specific area at the moment. Are you in level 1, or are you level 2, level 3, or are you almost at level 4? Because what's happened now is you actually know the steps. So even if you are in level 3 in something that you want to improve, you now know the key. You know that you need to start doing things that are not going to feel good, but they are absolutely going to be good for you and others and the greater good. So stepping from level 3 to level 2 really takes a strength and a courage, but you know if it's something that you really want, that ultimately this is your goal, then it's absolutely worth it, isn't it? So in your little boxes, just pop down where you are in that important part of your life, or your business, or your career. And I want you to write 3 things that you can do, 3 actions that you will take this week that will move you up to the next level. So if you're at level 3, or you could be at level 4 of course, but if you're at level 3, then what are 3 things that you could do that are at level 2 that are not going to be comfortable, but that they're going to get you the gold? And if you're at level 2, how can you do those things more that will make them become a level 1 even faster? So I'm really glad that you've had an opportunity to do this, because by taking this step and doing this right now, it actually gives you an opportunity to see this in action. And you know, over the next, and it's happening now, the changes are happening now, but over the next couple of days you're really going to see how this has a massive impact on the success of your life. Now, this is where Carly and I come in even more. We are experts at getting people to where they want to go. So if you need a hand in moving forward even faster and more easily and effortlessly, then we've got a treat for you. Carly, did you want to let everyone know about the powerful choice sessions that we've got for everyone on the call today?
Sure, Joe. So as some of you may or may not be aware, each week we're offering as part of this webinar a free 30-minute choice session. So there's absolutely no obligation to take anything further with us. It's not a sales pitch. We truly are just wanting to give back to you and help you to to get to that level of mastery that you truly can achieve. So that's what this is for. So if you're wanting to register and you want to take up that opportunity, all you need to do is to go to this website address where my lovely assistant gets it up.
I'm always a little slow on that, aren't I?
And so go to www.designermindset.com.au/self-mastery and just pop in your details there and we'll get that information through and we can get in contact with you and organise your 30-minute choice session. Now it can be about anything that we've discussed or any challenges that have been happening in your life, and as some of you may know, through this we've also offered a values elicitation. So if you're wanting to take up something around what we've talked about, we're more than happy to. And also we've mentioned a few times, and we'll send out an email shortly wanting to know what are some things that are happening for you and what would you actually like to learn. We have a wealth of knowledge and information that we'd love to share, and we're looking at what webinars we can do in the future for you to give you even more support. So we'd love to know what are some things that you'd like to know about, or what are some struggles that you're having, so that we can start developing some more webinars around that. So send us an email, either Joe or myself.
We might get that up this week for everybody, hey Kylie, and we'll get that up this week so people can start thinking about it before next week's session.
Yep.
So we'll get that email out to you all in the next couple of days. That's great.
Awesome. So that's pretty much the end of it for today.
Great.
And we'll wait around for a minute or so because we're really conscious of your time. We're pretty well spot on today. Great job, Joe. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like to share, just pop it through or wait around for a minute. If not, we'll catch you next week.
Sweet. And thank you for those people that put feedback into the chat box. It's very helpful, and it's always great to get that interaction from you. So if you have any questions, we'll wait. But otherwise, have a wonderful week, and we'll look forward to speaking to you and your friends next week. Thanks, everybody.
And have lots of level 2 experiences over the next week.
Yeah, yeah, level 2. Oh.
We're getting some thank yous coming through and some great insights, so that's brilliant. So thank you so much, and we'll let you all go, and we'll see you next week.